Welcome back to the channel. We're back with our commander deck profile for Edges of Eternity, Sami, Ship's Engineer. 4 mana, you get a 2/4, where at the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. It's another Boros commander that cares about tokens, but I kind of wanted to find a way to make it not as much about tokens as more about finding fun ways to tap creatures and leave them tapped in order to make sure that you get those abilities off. But that's going to be the general overview of the deck. We're going to card by card for a second, but if you guys have a different commander that you guys want covered, or if you like these commander deck profiles, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll do our best to cover all the ones here for Edges of Eternities. But let's get into it. Arcane Signet for a little bit of mana, Lightning Grease. Since we're going to be finding different ways to tap our creatures, we're going to want ways to make sure that they could do it the turn they come down, so let's find ways to give them haste with cards like Lightning Grease. Soul Ring for additional mana, Staff of Domination. Untapped target creatures is nice as well. This way we can make sure we can activate their abilities again and again, not just have to use them once. But you pay 1 to untap this as well, gain a life, tap target creatures. Well, maybe you don't have a way to tap your creatures, so you just pay the 4 mana to do it instead, because you couldn't swing in, but you really needed that 2/2 token, or 5 mana to draw a card. Swift of Boots, another way to give our creatures haste. Talisman of Conviction for that mana. Fire Crystal to give your creatures haste once again. Also, red spells cost 1 less, but we're not going to really use that too often. And then 6 mana, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. It's sacrificed at the beginning of the next end step, but, could become handy depending on what we have on the board. Maybe we have something that was like Exerted with like Devoted Cropmate. And then dousing your elixir, activate abilities the turn they come down, such as like the ones with the tap ability, like to see it, and then pay 1 mana to untap target creature in order to make sure we can use that ability again and again potentially. Well, only once really, because you have to tap this in order to do it. For our creatures, which we have 35 total in here, which is quite a hefty number, especially, but we want to make sure we have as many creatures to tap here as possible. We have Angel Condemnation for 4 mana, you get Druid Flying and Vigilance. Pay 3 mana, tap it, exile another target creature, return to the battlefield under its owner's control to begin the next end step. We have a few creatures that do benefit off that this way. If we do have more than 2 tapped, we could have it where we exile the creature, blink it, making it come back untapped, benefiting off of that a whole bunch. 3 mana, exert it, exile another target creature until this card leaves the battlefield. You could do that multiple times, depending if you have ways to untap this, such as like with dousing your elixir, making so that like your opponents really want to get rid of this card, but also makes it so you get rid of their dread for at least a little bit. And also exerting it doesn't mean it does stay tapped. This way you don't have to worry about tapping it again there for Sami. Anger, in order to give our creatures haste. Anim, Packle, Thousand Moon, 3 mana. Whenever you attack with 1 or more non-gnome creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, then create X1/1 gnome artifact creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on this creature. It does help the artifact. Like, I do get the purpose of having tokens in the set, so it gives you more creatures, which means more things that'll be tapped. And also, like, mobilize does work well in this deck as well, because you'll have the creature until the beginning of the end step, so it does like check both things. So it will check for like Sami's abilities, seeing that you still have those like tapped tokens, and then it will sacrifice the tokens, I believe. But like, at the same time, you see it so often that like I want to do something fun, but like that's also the same reason you have Arabella, is because it just works well for like the colors that we're in. Whenever Arabella deals attacks, deal X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of creatures you control, power 2 or less, which is going to be quite a few if we keep having them here with Sami as well. Devoted Cropmate may exert it, making so we don't have to tap it again. When you do, return target creature card with CMC 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Maybe Arabella, maybe some other things we'll get to later. Drum Bellower. Untap all creatures you control during each other player's untap step. Sami only cares about our stuff being tapped during our turn, but this will allow us to untap our stuff even if they are exerted, making so that we could use their abilities again and again there. Eltorial Survivors, trample Myriad as long as this card is attacking. It's +X/+0, where X is the number of lands defending player controls. Could be pretty helpful there. You just having those extra tokens, which will eventually go away, because they don't go away until the beginning of the end step, which once again does check there for that mobilizing. Enduring Courage, another way to give our creatures that haste, but also a little bit of a power boost there. Fell down to the third path. 3 mana, tap it. Like to see it. Create a token that's a copy of target creature in your graveyard, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It also gains haste, making so you can use the tap ability this turn as well. There's a sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step, which will be your beginning of your end step. So maybe. Goblin Medics. Whenever this card becomes tapped, deals 1 damage to any target. Maybe if you attack with it, which you're probably not going to, but maybe you have another way to tap it with some other abilities they have in this deck, which we'll get to in a little bit. It'll come in handy there. Gold Mirror, tap it for some mana. You don't necessarily need to attack to get these abilities off. Sometimes you just tap them for their abilities. Goro Goro, Disciple of Ryusei. 1 red mana, creatures you control gain haste until end of turn, another haste enabler, or 5 mana to create a 5/5 Dragon Spirit creature token. With flying as well, activate only if you are attacking with a modified creature, which we have a few ways to modify our creatures with this deck, giving them some +1/+1 counters or other ways, but it's mostly that haste ability that we care about. Iron Mirror, another tap token, another tap creature because we're going to tap it for that mana. Jaxus the Troublemaker, kind of looking like Sanji from One Piece. Discard a card, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control, gains haste, and when it dies, you draw a card, sacrifice to begin the next end step. So it still checks for us controlling that, so we'll control that, plus Jaxus, if the creature survives, of course. And you also blitz it in, giving it a haste to make sure you can get the turn comes down. Depends what's more important, the 2/2 token or the creature that can tap the turn it comes down. Joshua, Phoenix Dominant. When he enters, discard 2 cards, draw 2 cards. His tap ability does transform him back into the Phoenix, but that's still just good ability, making so that we can get a lot of our creatures that are in the stack back in order to make sure we use their abilities again and again with that ultimate ability. Also a little bit of burn damage to our opponent. Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker, haste, tap, like to see it. Create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. Has haste as well, making so you can attack. You can sacrifice the beginning end step, but you'll still check for your stuff, making so you could still get that 2/2 token. Lorn of the Third Pet, another creature that'll tap for its ability to give both you and your opponent to each draw a card. Also entered destroy target artifact or enchantment. Okay. A little bit of removal is always nice. Mannequin, another creature that'll tap for some mana. Mother of Runes, another creature that'll tap for its ability to give creature protection from a color of your choice. Depending on what you need at the time, you could also run, what's that other card, Giver of Runes in the stack, but I just always liked Mother of Runes. Ornithopter of Paradise, another creature that taps for some mana, so you'll have more and more tapped creatures, but you'll still only get the 1/2/2, so this may be like a better card in the 99, but we're doing our best to do a deck profile for every legendary creature here for this set. Ordeon, Hero of Lava Brink. Create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, sacrifice the beginning of the end step. That's fine with us, because we'll still check for our ding. Or paste 9 to create 5 treasure tokens that are copies of target. Sorry, 5 tokens that are copies of target creature control. They gain haste, sacrifice the beginning of the next end step. Everyone's a sorcery, but that's definitely at least 2 that'll be tapped. Palladium Mirror for some additional mana there as well. Plarg, Dean of Chaos. Tap, discard a card, draw a card. It's a tap ability. I like to see it. Reveal cards up to the number, from the top of your library up to a number of non-legendary, non-land cards with mana value 3 or less. You may cast that card without paying its mana value, put the rest on the bottom in random order. It's okay. It's a tap ability that helps us out a whole bunch. And eventually, if he transforms, other tap creatures you control get +1/+0, and other untapped creatures you control get +0/+1. Whenever you attack, untap each creature you control, then tap any number of creatures you can. Wait. Whenever you attack, untap each creature you control, then tap any number of creatures you control, allowing you to benefit off those making sure that you don't want the big creatures still tapped. You can just tap stuff like, I don't know, maybe Iron Mirror if you don't need the mana this turn. Oh, sorry. Where were we? Palladium Mirror, Augusta. Professional Facebaker. It's a menace creature, likes to attack, likes to get you some treasure tokens. Let's see it. Ragavan, creature that always wants to be attacking, so you get those cards off your opponent's deck. Another card that'll just be tapped quite often. Reckless Racer, first strike, becomes tapped, may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. I mean, we're going to have plenty of ways to tap it. Let's do it. Sami Herbalist. Whenever it becomes tapped, you gain a life. Just scry 1. It's an okay card. I mean, like I said, we have like some cards that'll tap like our creatures in order to make sure that we get those abilities off. Without having to swing in with them. Simian Spirit Card for some additional mana. Solemn Simulacrum for an additional land. Side Infiltrator. Whenever it becomes tapped, deal 1 damage to each opponent. Another way, a card that benefits off being tapped. Stony Brook Schoolmaster becomes tapped. You may put a 1/1 blue merfolk creature token into play. Another thing that likes being tapped. I mean, there's not many places you get to run these cards, right? Thundershot Militia. Tap 2 untapped artifacts or creatures, like maybe Stony Brook Schoolmaster and Side Infiltrator, for example. Deal 1 damage to each opponent, but you're dealing 2 and getting a token because you tap them with the Sunshot Militia. Jolly Balloon Man. In order to give some creatures haste, in order to make sure they attack, and also tap himself, giving you those 2 creatures you already need. Herbrest, the Hidden, makes so your opponent's creatures enter tapped, and creatures you control have haste. We like haste, so if we tap our stuff, the turn it comes down. And Zeta the Dawnbreaker. Each permanent in your starting deck has an activated ability. It's if you want the companion side of things. We don't have that. Abilities that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This can't reduce the abilities more than 0, but also you can pay 1 target creature can't block this turn, meaning so some of your stuff could swing in a little bit easier. We also don't really pay mana to like tap stuff in this. It's like it's a okay card, but like for like certain cards it does really come in handy. Burning Anger, enchant creature, tap it, deal damage equal to its power to any target. But like, maybe if you have, or was it? Stony Brook Schoolmaster, you tap it, deal 1 damage, but you also get that 1/1 flyer. Kieran Negotiations, tap an untapped creature control, deal 1 damage to target player. We like to find ways to tap our creatures without having to attack with them, and that's definitely a way. For our instance, we have Boros Charm for a little bit of damage or a little bit of protection, depending on what we need. Chaos Warp for that removal. Dawn's Truce. We want to make sure our stuff could stick around, because we're very susceptible to board wipes in this deck. Deflecting Palm. We're also susceptible to being punched in the face, so let's make sure that they punch themselves in the face instead. Flawless Maneuver for that Indestructible. Generous Gift for some removal. Lightning Volley. Until end of turn, target creature control gains tap. Deal 1 damage to target permanent or player. Once again, another way to tap our creatures without having to attack. Mana Tide for counterspell. You might need it. Have Exile for that removal. Same with Stroke to Midnight, Sword Splashers, and Untimely Malfunction. Unexpected Windfalls, a little bit of draw power there. Actually, I'm thinking about it. I should probably put more draw power in here. We do not have enough. Blasphemous Act for a board wipe. Farewell for a board wipe. Vandal Blast for an artifact board wipe. And Jessica's Will for that additional mana and some additional cards. And then I'll just scroll through the lands here. I'd just like to say thank you guys so much for tuning into the video and sticking around here till the end. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.